Welcome to another edition of Chai with Molly, a show where we celebrate diversity the Canadian way. My team and I work very hard to bring you exciting shows every week. So buckle up. Chai with Molly starts right here, right now. Andrew Scheer's surprise announcement that he was resigning as a leader has made a way for the Conservatives to pick a new leader. Mr. Doug Hawkins, Senior Policy Advisor to Prime Minister Stephen Harper, is in the studio to share with us what are some of the lessons this new leader can learn from Mr. Scheer. Please join me in welcoming him to the show. Thank you so much for being here, Doug.
Thank you, Molly. It's my pleasure.
All right. So what's your take on what happened?
You know, I think it's most appropriate that here we are on Chai TV. My understanding of Chai TV is that it's very much dedicated to this concept of diversity.
Absolutely.
And in diversity is unity. I believe there's an old saying that says diversity brings unity.
Absolutely.
Or unity brings diversity. I would suggest that they are two sides of the same coin, unity and diversity. Cannot have one without the other. When I thought about the mandate we have for this discussion tonight, I thought back to the basics, if you like. I thought back to Political Science 101, and I thought of $1 million word. It's such $1 million word, I had a hard time remembering it.
Okay.
And then when I remembered it, I had a hard time pronouncing it.
Okay.
But here I am tonight. I hope that I can pronounce it, and I'd like to take a minute and explain what it means.
Okay.
And I think when you understand the meaning of this word, it, if you like, it encapsulates a lot of lessons for Mr. Scheer, for any leader in the modern world, for any leader in history. There's lessons in this word that we have to remember and apply. The word is consociationalism. Consociationalism. It's a big word. What consociationalism means, it's a form of power sharing in a democracy. Most of the world today, believe it or not, is a democracy. Most of the world operates on this theory of consociationalism, which simply means recognizing that there is, the textbook or Google would say, recognizing that there is division around us. But I'm not even going to use that word division tonight. I'm going to use another word that's similar but has a positive spin, the word diversity. So recognizing that there's a diversity around us and working at systems to bridge that diversity. So the diversity could be along linguistic lines, cultural lines, religious lines, all these things. And it's a never-ending battle. You find, and this could be applied in corporations, in government, in politics, in education, you find that in a political party, a successful political party is a coalition. And when they're able to apply this idea of consociationalism, in other words, reaching out, extending to across cultural lines, across religious and language lines, these political parties become successful. This is how they win or lose elections. If you're in government and you're not seen as reaching out to a wide audience, to a diverse audience, your government will probably be in trouble. Over the last 4 years, a lot of us thought that Mr. Trudeau might be in trouble because although he worked at that, he wasn't always appealing to people. He wasn't always engaging people. And so I think we had an opportunity as Conservatives, we had an opportunity to focus on that and to make ours a party of outreach. And in a sense, we failed.
Okay, so give us a little bit more understanding of that, because everybody thought that this was an opportunity for the Conservatives not only to win, but also get a majority government. I think that is what was perceived on the streets. So in your opinion, the Conservative Party did not reach out to the people of diversity community?
We reached out, we tried, but we didn't do it as well as we should have. We didn't execute it perfectly.
Now, we had good examples of people like Mr. Jason Kenney, right? He did an excellent job in reaching out to just about everyone.
Jason Kenney, he in all the years I've known him, and I've worked closely with him on certain projects, he's been preoccupied with that concept. And it's a winning concept. And it's done very well for him personally. He decided, for a number of reasons, I'm sure, he decided to shift gears, to leave Ottawa, to go to Alberta. What he did was a risk. It was a gamble, but it worked for him personally. Today, he's the Premier of Alberta. It's not all a bowl of cherries. In fact, he inherited a mess.
Yes.
But he's accomplishing some good things there. And yes, I think he's been a good model for little.
So why did the Andrew Scheer's team not learn from him or implement some of the things that he had already introduced, especially in Ontario, right? Ontario is a very, very diverse province, and this could be one of the reasons why the Conservatives have not done well in Ontario. Well, could that possibly be one of the reasons?
I think it is one of the reasons. And the whole foundation of this consociationism is shared power. There has to be a sharing of power. And it's not always easy to do. But those who can do it find that it brings them good results. You know? And I think, I mean, looking ahead for the Conservative Party, I think it's exciting because we're in the early stages right now, but it looks like a lot of people will be coming forward as potential leaders.
Do you have any personal favorites?
I like the idea of someone new, someone who represents a new generation. At the same time, I mean, I think I'm like most Canadians. I also see a lot of merit in experience. So people who have had experience as a cabinet minister or as a provincial premier, I think they bring something to the table, if you like. I'll just throw out one idea. A fellow who I find very appealing is Premier Brad Wall, who was the premier of Saskatchewan, a man with a stellar record. And now he is talking in the last couple of days like he does not want this position. But that's very common in life, is the people that you really feel you want and need, they might be very shy. They might have other things, or they might just like to slow down the pace of their life. So even though Mr. Wall has said no, it strikes me if citizens approach him and say, Mr. Wall, you really are the kind of man we need, maybe he would give it a second thought. It's interesting. I did some math, and in the lists that are being published in the last couple of days in places like the Toronto Star and CTV and Maclean's, there are something like 20 names of potential candidates, 20. Now, that list might get shorter, but I thought that's a pretty healthy, that's a good thing. I'm excited that there are 20. If there were just 2 or 3, I'd be worried, but there's 20. I find that very exciting.
Wonderful. Now, you were a senior policy advisor to Prime Minister Stephen Harper, and he did really well for the 2 terms that he was the Prime Minister. In your opinion, what was his secret?
Well, one of the things I did, I was Ontario representative on the National Policy Committee, and one thing that was his secret, that he probably didn't have a patent on this, it's been around for years and years and years, but he was a real believer in democracy, and he followed democratic principles. And his vision was that the party should shape the policies, the direction that we want to go. It's a grassroots thing where the people of Canada express themselves. And then the leader gets out there and sells this to the people of Canada. I think in the comments I'm making on your questions, Molly, I'm suggesting that there's really 2 key ingredients that the leader needs to have.
Okay.
And one is a clear vision, an ability to motivate others, an ability to execute, and an ability to reconcile, to bring people together. And kind of an understanding that in democracy, shared power, if you like, that the people develop the policies and the leader implements or sells those policies. So the leader, I think, and I think I've said this, has to be a conciliator, has to be good at reconciling people, and has to be good at selling policies, at going out to the people of Canada and say, this is what we stand for, and this is why it is going to be good for each and every one of you. And I think maybe that's where we fell short.
Okay, and so you think that Mr. Andrew Scheer was not able to sell his vision, or maybe what the vision that he was sharing was, could it possibly be that it was not appealing to people?
I think you're right, and I don't want to be harsh about this. He was not a bad salesman, but he could have been better in some respects.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, we accomplished a lot in the election as Conservatives. We won a shutout in Alberta. We won a shutout in Saskatchewan. In terms of popular vote, we had more popular votes than the Liberals. So we had some tremendous accomplishment. We did very well. We were first place party in British Columbia and in Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you move to the more eastern parts of Canada, including Ontario, we did not come up to expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And where we sit today in the GTA in Toronto, it was, very, very disappointing. We just did not click, if you like, with the people of Toronto. And I mean, that's an all-day discussion in itself. But the people there, the people in Toronto, have to see that their interests are aligned with our interests, that we are in this for them. Because it
always has to be.
We are
right?
in it for them, but we have to communicate that.
Absolutely, because you know what? I have seen a change in the Canadian electorate, because now they're engaged. We have always thought of them as a little apathetic and people who are not really interested.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is necessarily true, because people have become interested in what's happening, and they do pay attention to what is happening. And they decided this time that this is the way it was going to be. And I think it's really important that they gave a minority government to the Liberals, because now they have no choice but to work with other parties, which is a good thing. That can't be bad.
Well, this leadership campaign in itself, which we're not even into yet, but we will be soon, I think it's a good thing. It's a healthy, vibrant thing for Canada and for our party. I think it will bring new life. And as for the timing, we do have a national convention coming up in April.
Okay.
I think what all this means, in my opinion, is that the real focus in April will not be, should we keep this leader or should we get a new one? The real focus will be, let's do some fine-tuning on our policies. So we will have a policy package to present to the people of Canada, more attractive than ever. And our new leader will help us in selling that. So that's where it's very interesting. The other thing is that the leadership campaign itself, and right now, we don't know. The last time we did this 3 years ago, I believe it was a 17 months process. A lot of people are hoping it will be a little shorter, and maybe it will. But this process is very healthy, and it caused a lot of people to step forward and join the party and to say, I'm going to get involved in this. And we were discussing earlier, and this is an interesting topic, but we talked about consocialism, and a couple of things that are being done that kind of promote that concept. One is the idea of a ranked ballot. So if you're a Conservative, you're not just asked who is your choice for leader, you're asked who is your second choice, who's your third choice, who's your fourth choice, and so on. So let me just give you as an illustration. This is only as an illustration only. Let's suppose that several months down the road that Rona Ambrose becomes the leader of the party by a close margin. Whoever wins, I think it will be a close margin, looking at all the numbers. A close margin, let's suppose 55%. But on the first ballot, she would probably only start with 5 or 10%. So what that tells us is the first ballot really isn't that important. What people do on the second and third and fourth choice, that's what will cause a consensus candidate to emerge that everyone can get behind. And I don't think it's going to be that the next day everyone will say, oh, is she ever great? No, but they'll say, well, this was a person we could work with. And you understand, I'm just using her as an example. It could be one of several. This is interesting. I think, Molly, that I did a little bit of historical research this week. And in 1967, we had 11 candidates for the leadership of the party. 11.
Okay.
In 1983, we had 7, but in 1976, we also had 11. And I think some people are concerned that we get numbers like 14 and 17. I think we will have a larger number than 11 this year.
Hmm.
But why not? Canada is a larger place than it was in 1967.
And I think at the end of this contest, there has to be a process of healing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also a missed opportunity, in my opinion,
Yes.
because it was a hotly contested,
Yes.
Leadership race. And I don't think there was any healing
No.
that happened. And I think the party has been fractured ever since.
I think anyone would agree with you.
Mhm.
And I mean, in that last race 3 years ago, it was a virtual tie. We had two candidates who were virtually tied.
Mhm.
And Mr. Bernier was actually first on 12 of 13 ballots. And on the final ballot, Mr. Scheer edged past him by 1 percentage point. So that's how I'm not disappointed. I don't say that that means we're fragmented. It means that we are very passionate about things, and we've got more than one attractive choice. It was that way 3 years ago. It will be that way this time too.
All right.
And you hinted in your question, and I might have said this earlier too, that the key is that whoever comes out on top needs to be a reconciler, needs to
Absolutely.
bring the others on board.
Yes, I think that's probably where this party has been fractured, because that healing never took place.
In 2017, there were 14 candidates. That's great.
Mhm.
But about half of them, for one reason and another, left never to return again. And I feel that's kind of sad, because they all had something to contribute. I think some of them wanted to contribute,
Mhm.
but the welcome mat was not always there.
That's
So
right.
that's
So I think
another
that's a
lesson.
big lesson.
That's another lesson that we can learn, for sure.
Yes,
For sure.
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We'll be watching to see what happens and who emerges as a leader of the Conservatives, because we need good leaders. We need good prime ministers. We need good opposition leaders. Until they get to be prime ministers. So it's in any healthy democracy, this is a good thing. So thank you so much for being here.
It will be interesting. It will be interesting.
We'll be
Thank you very
watching.
much.
Maybe we'll get you to come back, and
Thank you very much, Molly.
whoever gets to be the new leader,
Yeah.
and have another conversation. Until then, you don't go anywhere. There's lots more for you.
Okay, very good.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
being
very
here.
much, Molly.
5% down payment, 5% deposit. That's all you need. Yes, you heard that right. I am Jay Banerjee. I am your real estate portfolio manager. Pre-construction condos are here. They need 20%. On a $500,000 condo, that is $100,000. Not everybody has it. Do you? Even if you did, can you put it down? And if you can, I have the perfect solution for you. We're having a special. And in this special, guess what? Santa is coming. And Santa is going to bring condos in 5 different projects. Vaughan, Mississauga, downtown Toronto, Leslieville, and other places. If you just call me or you click on the information, if you're watching this as a email, if you're watching this on television, call the number before, because a one-day sale really soon. If you call me, you can reserve a pre-construction condo with 5% deposit, nothing until closing. If you've been watching the news, don't take my word for it, because you don't know me personally. So, however, you do know the Toronto Star, you do know the Globe and Mail, you do know all these financial posts, and you do know one thing: the pre-construction condo market is going through the roof, is increasing at the rate of 10% per year. Why? Homes. A home is $1 million plus. The mortgage rules changed. Do you qualify for a house? Do you qualify for a second house to invest in? No. Not everybody does, because they change the rules. So therefore, I have a solution for you. Pre-construction condo, you can buy it with 5% deposit, you can sell it before the occupancy and the closing. Guess what? I will sell it for you. I have done this. My name is Jay Banerjee. I am almost 30 years in real estate in Toronto. For the last 10 years, I have done nothing but building special relationships with the key and the leading builders in the city of Toronto. Let me pass that benefit on to you. Do you want to retire wealthy? Do you want to build for the future? Your child's education? Call me now, 647-273-1119. Let me help you to change your financial future.
That's all for this week. Please join us again for another episode of Chai with Molly. Until then, this is Molly Banerjee reminding you once again to be good and kind to a stranger. It really is a good thing.